You're all good and live.
Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to the BGN, North Dallas, Texas, North Texas, Addison, Plano. You know what the story is. We're here at the meetup, and here's what we're going to be having today. We've got Jena, and are you continuing on your formula from previous week? This has been now 3 hours of conversation that's been entailed into something that's a 90-day program. But in these last 2 hours, you should go back and watch the 2 previous weeks. Those would be very valuable to you. In those 2 previous weeks, we learned the tips, the techniques, and the tricks, how to actually create a story and follow it through systematically from point A. I don't know where we're at now, but we're somewhere in the middle. So Jena Apgar is somebody who has been, how would I say it? What's the best way to say it? She's been given the chance to have the ultimate of secrets and still be able to tell the story through her military career because of the intelligence level that she was at. She has now learned the secrets and the hacks that people need when they go to build a business, uncover and teach you those very systematically. Here's what I promise you. One of you will always have fun when you're having a conversation with Jena because she will walk you through kicking and screaming to the finish line. Please welcome our presenter today, Jena Apgar.
I think we discussed last time that everyone deserves a Sean just walking around behind them, introducing them everywhere they go. That's what he does, is tell those stories, right? Impromptu, didn't give him any of that. He just makes it all up and literally
it's all true.
Makes it up. So mostly kind of connecting, for those of you, I think this is really odd. If everyone will just take a look around, somehow every woman ended up on this side, and every man ended up on this side.
So who's left side, right side, brain?
Because this is the challenge people versus non-challenge. We're challenging the non-challenge.
Then I need to be on that side.
Scott, you got a slot too.
Challenge issue from that side of the room.
Come on, Scott, get over here.
This is all about making people feel incredibly uncomfortable. Okay. So this is, in its own, it's all by itself. You don't need anything. So, because I know we have a couple of your 4 new people. We had talked about what does the business take to build a business. So I know we have one business coach, but you are more like mindset or like, I was trying to put a hard, like,
for the most part, yeah.
Very vague, right? Maybe work with Sean a little bit more and like nail that down. And we've got the website guy in here. Hopefully I don't offend you ever too much. I'm highly offensive. And I'll try not to curse too much.
Effective?
The whole goal in this one is doing the 90-day challenge and actively going through. And one of the things that we added was on Mondays they could come ask me questions for the entire day pretty much. It was intended for students, but I got a bunch of business owners instead, and that's cool because you get to see where everyone is just not getting it, and we're going over new stuff. Do you have a question? Robbie? No? Okay, you're just your copy. I can see where they're like, oh, how did I didn't get that before, and I'm like, how is it you didn't know that after knowing me for so many years? The whole goal is to make more money, to convert more leads and make more money at the point of sale and on the lifetime value of the user in a way that is authentic and genuine and morally ethical, right? We're not trying to scam anybody for as long as humanly possible, but to do it to add value. Does anybody in here have a business that adds value, like they truly believe it adds value to their customer? Right? Nobody is like, oh, I'm just a scammer in the back. No, everyone in here is here because they add value to the customer and they just can't figure out how to get more customers so they can help the most people. Does that sound about right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me stay on topic. But here's the problem, because you're trying to help people and there's just one law of business. So I love playing the game of Risk. Has anyone played the game Risk? Got a couple people in here. I used to play it when I had to play it on 10 discs that were about 10 inches by 10 inches. And you had to very carefully insert them into the computer, and every time you would hit a new level in the game, you had to put another one in. But in the game of Risk, you basically have, think about the entire world divided into countries. And the goal is to take and build an empire. Every time you take over a country, the next turn, you get more armies. That almost feels like cheating, right? Because every single turn, you get more armies to take over more countries, and every country, you get more armies to take over more countries, and it's all by random roll of the dice, right? Business is no different. If you get one more client, you can afford to buy more leads. You can afford to offer more premiums and get them more excited to do more events that get you more leads, that can get you more events to get more leads, and then you get more popular, so you get invited to speak on bigger and bigger and bigger stages. The more customers you have, the more you have to work with. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
He who can spend or willing to spend the most to acquire the customer wins. The more customers you have, the bigger war chest you have, right? So this was something that we built. It was loosely based off Digital Marketer. The problem with Digital Marketer stuff is it was all over the place. They were like, oh, here's this one plan over here, and oh, by the way, you need all these foundational pieces over here. And I was like, that makes no sense. And the number one question that people always ask is, what do I do first? Where do I start? I'm lost. Tell me where to go. And they're like, oh, well, if you need this, you could go here. And if you need this, you could go here. And I'm like, no, people are stupid. Love you guys. Marketing is not what you do, with the exception of the marketer in the room. For the rest of everybody else, you'll have a different business, right? And even the marketer in the room, he does websites, right? You specifically said you don't do SEO, you don't do branding, you probably don't do logos, you can probably source those out. There's only so much any one person can do, so where do you start? So the concept was to build, where do you start? It looks like a big mess, but I promise it works. So the basic concept here is first, what is customer value optimization? Everyone knows what a customer is, right? You understand what value is. Optimization is just making it better. How can you take the system that you already have and make it better? So shocking statements, nobody cry. I know we got the cry here going, but just because you know your product or service is great, just because you know your prospects really need what you have to offer, they're gonna die, they need a coffin, they need to be burned, something of that nature, it's expensive. Just because of that, that doesn't mean they know they need it. How many people have gotten that objection? I don't know if that's really for me. I don't know if I need that. Can't I do that on myself? Like, right? And it also doesn't mean that they want it from you. How many financial advisors in the room? It's a short day, only 2, 3, okay? At least they don't know that yet, right? That's the concept that we're trying to build, is make sure that they know they need it and that they know they want it from you, right? The CVO growth plan works because it follows the structure sequence of a normal, healthy relationship. And this half of the room is probably tired of hearing that.
Keep going, Jenna. It's harder.
This, unfortunately, is most marketers. Now, I feel like this is going to relate more to the guy side because I kind of stole these slides from Ryan Dice and made them up really quick. Whereas normally my story relates more to those ladies. But if y'all guys go on a date and you've got crazy chick over here and she sits down for your first date off of Tinder and she's just like, oh my God, I'm so excited to meet you. Like, I was thinking our kids, like, we're going to have a boy first and we're going to name him Jonathan after you, right?
Wow.
You're going to be like, you know what, I really need to go to the bathroom. I'm so sorry I didn't go before I left. And you're going to disappear really quickly and you might call someone to have her maybe looked at, right? That's a little nuts. Anybody having a second date with that chick? Anybody finishing the date with that chick? That'd be crazy. I've had a guy do that before to me and I'm just like, okay, exit stage left. No kidding, proposed marriage on the first date. I was like, dude. The other side, and I will be the first one to say, this is where I was terrible at, is the friend zone dude. Again, this one totally relates more to this because women normally don't have this problem. But you're overcompensating by giving them value. And then when you ask for money, they're like, huh? Anyone ever had that one? Like, you try, like, you believe in what you have, so you offer value. And then when it comes to pay money, they're like, but you're my friend. Don't you do that? You just give me the friend hookup, right? I had one marketer, somebody asked for the friends and family pricing, so they multiplied the price by 2. And they said, because you're friends and family, you want to support me, right?
Oh. I like that. What a great concept.
You gotta have something snarky for all those objections, right? It basically comes down to 5 things. You can make it overly complicated. I can, on the back of the board, everyone knows I got 8 over here. But it really does boil to 5 basic concepts. Again, basic framework, like you could have more framework. But the basic concepts is a lead magnet. You have to have some way to get leads. And then the thing is, oh, well, why would I do it that way? What about there's a million different ways to do it. I've even seen somebody, my favorite one so far is at traffic and conversion. He literally just went to the bank and got an entire briefcase full of $2 bills and said, if you would like a $2 bill, I want your information. And everyone likes to take things back to their kids, but you're like traveling, so you want it really small. And for some reason, we always collect $2 bills. Does anybody just use a $2 bill? I always feel like I need to stash it because it's special. So we all went over there. We all wanted to take pictures, like fanning out all the money because we're stupid and we have nothing better to do apparently at that time. And we all went and got our $2 bill, and I was like, this has got to be pricey. Like, why would you do that? There's like 7,000 people here at this conference. He's like, okay, well, I'm an SEO guy. If I were advertising on Google to a landing page, how much would it cost me for a lead?
Mm-hmm.
All right, fair game. It would be more than $2 is the answer to that. It would probably be $2 a click minimum. Since he's in marketing, it'd probably be closer to like 33 or 10. I haven't looked that one up in a while. I don't care how you get the lead, get the lead. Second one, having some kind of entry point offer. For consultants, the big famous one is just time. Come meet me. It's failing. Financial consultants, y'all are kind of stuck like Chuck. Y'all got nothing short to sell, right? It's a meeting. How can you bribe someone into coffee? Right? You got to meet them, get some time. The other one is some kind of money. That money can be as small as $1, just something for them to trip over. Think the impulse buy section. If you're in corporate, like you're working with really big corporations, usually up to $499.99, they don't have to ask permission. So something that's very entry point offer compared to your core offer, which is the thing you actually want to sell, right? Profit maximizer just means how do you make more money on the sell? Does that make sense to everyone? That could be like, what is it? You go into Best Buy and you buy a computer and you go to checkout and they're like, hey, would you like insurance with that? Well, I didn't feel like I was going to be skydiving with my computer, but sure, just in case, right? And then the return path, because we want those same customers that we've just spent all the money acquiring. By the way, that is the single most expensive aspect of getting new business. We want them to come back and buy more. Even a realtor who can only sell a house, you can still have them come back in 5 years when they're inevitably going to sell their house because they got pregnant, divorced, married, somebody got sick. I tend to use the same people over and over again. Wouldn't you like your customers to come back instead of finding someone new? Right? Use you over and over again? So that is the main concept. Any questions there? Let me kind of relate this back a little bit. Going back to the male side of relationships, I like that Ryan keeps this so PG-13. Lead magnet is like asking somebody for their number. It is permission. This could be a phone number that you're allowed to text by hand. It could be an opt-in form on a website. It is just permission. We even now have it inside Facebook Messenger where you can have permission to message them. Want to get coffee is that entry point offer. You're getting permission for a tiny little bit. It's not jumping straight from the number to be like, hey, can we take like a week-long trip in the Bermuda? I was going to say triangle. Probably not a good vacation spot. Can I take you to dinner? Is your core offer. That is your goal, right? Is just like I get a couple dinner dates. Will you marry me? Just kind of get more into the profit maximizer. That's going to be like your big coaching plans where you're getting them into monthly billing or you're getting large sums of money on a regular basis. Flowers and date night. The whole concept there is once you get married, do you get to stop dating? Do you get to stop calling her and texting her? You can. That's how divorce rates get so high. You've got to still keep on engaging with your wife and your spouse. Same thing in business. If you don't email them once a week, they forget you exist. Or they go find somebody else who does give them attention. Does that part make sense?
Mm-hmm.
How many of y'all are actively ignoring your existing customer base right now? Yeah? Or your lead base? that image is a really fancy version of those 5 steps. All foundational stuff you have to have before, like it's nice to know what colors you're using and who you're talking to is a good start. But there is a simple formula. Right now, I'm not going to ask because for whatever reason everyone gets squeamish talking about money. Nobody wants to share their number. Right now, this one represents how much money you make every single month from business. Is that fair? Like everyone understands that part of the equation? Did anybody not pass algebra at some point in their life? Like 7th grade algebra, not. I think everyone else took, I don't know, I was that weird math kid. So the basic formula is this one. That L stands for leads. That's going to be however many leads you have at the door. Obviously, leads are not customers. Just leads in the door. People you have permission in some form or fashion to mail, call, email, something. Got that part? C, how many actual customers do you have? So somebody who is actively giving you money. It's always nice, right? M is a really important one. I don't know if anybody has heard the word company called ClickFunnels?
Yep.
So they like to tell big stories about their 2 comma club. And that's great until you find out the backstories from people, the stuff you don't get to know until you really get to know people. Yes, they made $1 million in the funnel, but their margins were next to nothing. They spent everything on Facebook ads and affiliate payments, and they didn't have any margins. So margins are good. If you don't have a profit, why are you doing this? Go get a normal job, right? And then frequency. How many times do they go back? My favorite one is Starbucks. They've gamified the Starbucks app to make me a true addict if their caffeine content did already. Anybody who's familiar with how algebraic basic equations work, all I have to do, we're making the assumption there's a 1 in front of all these numbers, right? If there's only one letter, it's a 1, right? What happens when I put a 2 in front of any one of these numbers? This doubles, right? How much money you are making every single month doubles. If you get twice as many leads because you optimize or you bribe ethically people to come into your lead magnet of some sort, your monthly income doubles. Does anybody disagree with that statement? More leads, more income, right? If you can convert them at twice the rate you're currently converting them, does that make sense? I feel like it's getting quiet. I'm kind of doing that on purpose. If you can increase your margins by selling additional items, and if you can get them to come back to you over and over again, I don't even think I have another slide. I don't. And that's kind of intentional. If I can make it at least both there again. You don't have to double all of those things to double your income. You either have to double 1, or you have to at least bring this to like 1.5, 1.2. 16 seems unreasonable, and I get that. You're like, I'm going to magically 16x my business in 1 month. Jenna said I could do it. No, it's not really how it works. But there's no reason you can't learn to get twice the leads in the next month. It might take some more hustle. You might have to learn a new trick in your tool bag. But increasing your leads, there's something you're doing right now. What can you do to make that more? This is the most costly section, but you can't do any of the other aspects if you don't have leads in. If you already have leads, then you can probably get more stretch and more working with this and optimizing that aspect. Is there anybody who either doesn't believe that or has questions?
Can you go over what the letters are one more time?
Leads,
Yeah.
customers, margin, frequency. So leads is really simple. Everyone's sitting here in a network meeting, right? You put that card in there, you're on my lead list. Type it up, Buttercup. You can always use the unsubscribe button. How could you stand up here when you give your 30-second speech and make everybody in the room want to give you a card?
We hire Sean.
You tell a better story, get something more on social media, right? Ask the right questions. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing the question.
You have to know who your actual clients and customers are, who your ideal one is.
They've all kind of been hearing me talk, but yeah, the very first one is, I would hate to think that you go around proposing marriage or offering dates to anybody. You would like to hone in your target audience, right? Most people have a preference, male or female, right? In a relationship. Pick one, that's a good start. Are your clients male or female? Anybody really only help female the most? Men? Financial advisors, who do you deal the most with?
Both. Really, both, yeah.
You say both, but I mean, if you looked at your existing client base right now, everyone in the room, I know you can help both. Who do you have the most of?
Women.
Of those people, who's your favorite to work with?
The women.
So you said like men, you're like women. And that's fine. That's just personal things. How you have a conversation with a man is very different than how you have a conversation with a woman. Would that be a fair statement? The things they care about are different? Robbie? How old are the men that you most love to work with and that you have the most customers of?
45 and 55, between those ages.
Yours?
Same.
Same? Do you think they talk the same as someone who's 21?
No, they don't.
How old are you, Robbie? I'm going to pick on you first.
How old am I?
Yeah.
41.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
All right, it's like one of y'all has got to be younger than her. Do you think at 30, a 30-year-old talks the same and cares about the same things as a 45-year-old?
No.
No. So now we have men and separate women in the 45 to 55 age range. How much other ways do you think you can split them up? Where do they live at? What's their average home value?
$500,000.
Yeah, I mean, older they get, higher the value. A lot of these younger folks are house poor and things like that. So.
Oh, so say they live in a certain type of household. Do you think that you could customize a conversation, we'll pick on you first, to somebody who's a female who's living in a $500,000 home that's 45 to 55 years old, and we could probably get even more specific than that. If they're, what area of town?
Let's say Plano.
Plano. What do they do for a living? Generally speaking?
Oh, man.
Pick your best client.
Okay. They own their own
Business.
business, yeah.
So now we're talking to business owners who are women who are 45 to 55 living in the Plano area. Do you think that you could start niching down where you go to networking activities and the exact conversation you have better if you specifically, when you got up, envisioned Karen standing there, wherever your best client is, and had the conversation that got her attention?
Yeah.
So I've actually done this before, and one of my favorite clients to talk about is the Musical Arts Schoolhouse there in Frisco, who they've already sold out of summer camp, and I forgot to get the last week. We were able to double their business just in 5 weeks, and the big one was right here, and then making sure that we were having the right conversation in between. And the biggest, just as Tanner said, is if you don't actually know the conversation that you need to have because you don't have the customer in mind, that messes things up. This is a crazy thing. Pick up the phone and talk to the person who you consider your best customer that you would like more of, and ask them why they hired you. That was good. I caught it right ahead of time. I did this. I pay them usually $25 Amazon gift card because I can send it right online to their email address. So I give them something for their time. I used to do market research studies a lot. I stayed on the phone for an hour and a half. It was preschool, and they cost a lot of money. And they kept in like academics, academics. We have the art in the word, so people don't think we do academics. We need to talk about academics. You're a really expensive preschool in Frisco, in Collin County. Everyone does academics. But when you talk with the customer, they're like, I don't really care about academics. They're going to get all those testing as soon as they hit kindergarten. So I was actually really happy that they were a little bit more freeform and all the learning was done through artwork and learning about the artists. And you start getting them talking over and over and over and over again. And then she mentions that there's 5 shows a year. I'm like, my client didn't even tell me there were 5 shows a year. What are you talking about? Well, 5 times a year they get on a real stage. What do you mean, a real stage? I've got a 3-year-old. She's wrapped around my leg, and you're telling me your kid gets up on stage in front of people at 3? She's like, yeah, the first time she cried, and that was kind of sucky. But the second time she did better, and by the 3rd time she owned the stage. What's one of the #1 fears? Public speaking. Which gender's really terrible at it? Women. Women go historically through school, not raising their hands to speaking, not taking leadership roles, and their job prospects are reflected. I hate to get into the man-woman battle, but it really comes down, if she can't ask for the raise, why should she get it? If she can't ask for the new job and ask for the promotion, why should she get it? If she can't get on stage, if she can't ask questions, they'll never be answered and they'll never see her again. But if I can then go turn around and in the website design, show girls that are on stage, and the boys too. I had to make sure we needed more boys. I had to put pictures of the boys in there. If I can show the parents what they actually wanted when I actually called them, which was they wanted to see their kids do things they weren't able to do the day before. Everyone offered academics, but we're special. We're actually going to put a pair of ballet, jazz, tap shoes on. We're going to give them a brush. They're going to paint a Monet. Let's show how they're different. Let's talk to the things the parents actually care about. That you're not teaching to the test. Does that make sense? So yes, who you're talking to really matters, and what they actually care about matters, because what you think about matters. You're a financial advisor. You're running all sorts of numbers. It's all very, what's the name of the brain, Scott?
Analytical brain.
Yeah, the analytical portion of the brain.
Right.
You're all up there thinking about logically, and the wife's over there just thinking like, how am I ever going to pay for college? They're going to be broke forever. Who's going to take care of me when I die?
People make decisions based on emotions and they justify it with logic.
That's everybody.
Yeah.
That's not some people. That is everybody. There's 10% of the population that is logical. They still make decisions based on emotion. Or if you ask Sean, something they can brag about. Everybody just wants to feel like they're part of some community. They want to feel loved. They want to feel like they're cared about. Are you having that conversation with them? But keep it mathematical. The leads, what are they actually asking for? So if you actually know your customer, you know what everybody wanted of them? They didn't want any of the fluffy things that anybody could come up with. They just wanted to know the price online without calling, without touring, without somebody bugging them. And at 1 in the morning when they were actually searching. So what do you offer to get their lead information? Price. Do you stuff it with sales information? Yes. How do you get them to become a customer? You now have permission to email them. What if you gave them a sequence of emails that met the psychology of how they make the next step? Not from here to here, but just from to here to getting the appointment, just from here to making a next tiny purchase, just from here to, hey, can I have your number, to, hey, can we have coffee sometime? What is the conversation that you can handle? If we break it down, it's gain, logic, fear, the 3 key ways people are making those decisions. And the 3 things that they only care about are romance, wealth, and health. So if you know those are the only 3 things they care about, and you know that they need to get from here to there using game, logic, and fear psychology, what email sequence can you give them, or what can you call them if you get the phone number and talk to them about to make them become a little commitment? Whether it's meeting with you, or a webinar, or some kind of small purchase, what needs to happen there to make that happen? Does anyone have questions there?
You said people use only gain, logic, or fear to make decisions?
Psychologically, you have to show somebody that they have something to gain, right? Fear of missing out, fear of death, fear of being poor, fear of not being included, some kind of fear. And then there's logic, but like he mentioned, it's all emotional. Most of the sales are going to be made in the gain or the fear side. And the logic side is just they've already made their decision, they want it, and you're just giving them logical numbers so they can justify it to their spouse and friends of why they made the decision. Oh, I made the decision because, 96% of all traffic now is mobile. 96? Wait, huh? Nobody's even gonna check the stats. I mean, find a good stat, please. Please, but find some stat, throw it in there, because somebody needs some kind of information to justify their purchase with you or their time with you. What's that stat going to be? What's that number going to be? Does that make sense? And then really, relationships. I'm looking at Virginia because I know she's like the relationship person. Wealth and health. Got a health people in there? Those are the only three things they want. Nobody, if David was here, I'd pick on him. Nobody wakes up wanting a vision. What is it you're selling that nobody wakes up wanting? Any examples?
Milk.
I'm going to pick on you because you talked. Nobody wakes up wanting a website. Nobody. They want more money and a website. They might have been told the website's going to solve the problem, but nobody wants the website. Nobody wants the funnel. Nobody wants a health insurance plan. Nobody wants to buy stock. Nobody wants you touching them. Nobody wants anything. They just want wealth, health, and relationships. And you may or may not be the tool to get them there. How much time do I have? Do I take questions?
15 minutes.
Damn. Any other questions? Y'all are dead. Did I kill you? Like you brain dead? I'm going to pick on you now. What's your preferred client? Since he brought up avatars, who is your ideal client that you like working with and that is financially good for you?
Well, female business owners.
So female business owners, you said entrepreneurs, so are we thinking more startup or smaller?
I like to work with people when they're like a couple years in.
A couple years in. How much money are they making at that point? Revenue, not personal.
Around 200,000 to 500,000 a year.
Okay. How do you get leads?
I have a list, and
But how do you get people on the list?
sometimes I post articles and have an opt-in page.
What do you bribe them with?
Articles.
You bribe them with articles. So you have like the sign up to my newsletter opt-in?
Yeah, like that.
Oh, okay. What would happen if you had an ethical bribe they actually wanted? The 3 top mistakes that female business entrepreneurs are making that are keeping them from taking their business from 500,000 to 1 million. I would argue you probably know the 3 biggest mistakes that you have to fix every time you go talk to someone, right?
Yeah.
What are they? They're on the top of your brain. I will trip up here. I've done it before.
Yeah, not being clear enough about where they want to end up. Not having a clear enough plan. And usually being held back by something psychological.
Sounds very familiar. So what if you bribed them and said, hey, if you want to use that, opt in? Do you think that would be more compelling than join my list, get more spam?
Yeah.
When they join your list, what do you do?
Well, I send more articles for a while, and every once in a while I'll send out an offer, like a special.
To your entire list?
Yeah.
Okay. What would that offer be?
Like sometimes like a specialized coaching session, sometimes a discount a session.
Price point?
Maybe like between 50 and 200.
Okay. That's a one-time fee.
Yeah.
What's after that? You get them down to a one-time session. That one-time session, then what do you do?
Then in that session, I basically give them a sample of what coaching you can do for them, and then from there, often they want to sign up.
What's your conversion rate on those 2? You send out an email. How big's your list?
It's just under 100 right now. It's not very big. And
Let's say 100. How many people actually open the email?
well, it's historically been around 20-30%.
Fair. And how many people buy when you send an offer out? Do you have your list segmented to buyers versus people who have not bought?
No, I'm kind of, it's relatively new.
Okay.
So I haven't gotten very far to this. Strategy, but, I would say, I don't know, I haven't had a chance to do this very much.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's say you have a list of 100, and you knew exactly how much you make, how many people are going to open an email, and you knew exactly how many people are likely to buy one of your offers, one-time type of purchase, and you knew exactly how many of those people who purchased who sat in front of you were going to convert into some kind of monthly coaching. You would be able to know exactly how much each person on your list is worth, right? And if you know exactly how much each lead is worth to you, you could probably up some advertising or get some help adding leads and know exactly how much you could afford to spend. And then if you added a profit maximizer, which one could argue coaching is, but let's say multiple coaching levels, more margins, more to spend per person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does everyone else see kind of how that perfectly converts to their business? Any questions on that?
I think he needs to join our business channel.
Does anybody in here know what a lead on their list is worth? You?
But how do
How
we
much?
calculate it? Because it's not every lead, so. you
On
mentioned-
average.
Oh, on average.
On average.
So you look at how many people in your list, how much you generated of it, and you divide to get the average. Okay.
You can get spicier. You can get it down into the data and say somebody who comes in through this lead magnet is worth this much, and this one who comes through this one is worth this much. Because some lead magnets might convert really, really well. Like in the blogger world, they would have, win an iPad. Just because they wanted an iPad didn't mean they care about whatever you're blogging about. So the leads come in, it could flood leads. That doesn't mean those leads are as valuable as something that came in that was more specific to your market. Does that make sense? But on average, finding a way. I'm going to let y'all network. I don't have a watch, but I know I have a meeting at 1. Any more questions? Y'all are so quiet today. Is it because David's not here? I'm going to have to get David back.
Used to be in the